All right, if you're an IB Visual Arts higher level student, you know what we're here to talk about. It's the big one, the Selected Resolved Artworks task. It's kind of the marathon of your whole 2-year course, and it's worth a huge chunk of your final grade. So in this explainer, we're going to crack the code on how to turn this massive challenge into your high-scoring triumph. First up, let's just take a moment to let this number sink in. 40%. This one task, your internal assessment, is worth a massive 40% of your entire grade. So yeah, this isn't just another project. It's pretty much the single biggest key to unlocking the score you're aiming for. You know, the whole difference between the standard level and the higher level task really boils down to just one little word: selected. It seems so small, right? But trust me, that one word changes absolutely everything. Yeah, that one word completely changes the game. It elevates the task from simply making good art to actually curating a thoughtful exhibition. You're not just the artist anymore, you're also the curator. And that's exactly what we're going to break down: how to be brilliant at both. Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to master the art of selection. Then, we'll dive deep into what makes an artwork really sing. After that, we'll tackle those crucial written texts. And finally, we'll run through a checklist so you know you've nailed every single point for a top grade. Sound good? Let's get into it. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the art of selection. So how do you actually start thinking like a curator? This is all about laying the groundwork for a top score in Criterion A, proving you can look at your own work with a critical, professional eye. This whole process, it actually starts way before you even think about your final pieces. The IB wants to see what they call a production pool of at least 8 artworks you've created over the 2 years. And why? Well, think about it, right? You can't be a great curator with only 5 things to choose from. This bigger collection is your raw material. So here's what that curatorial process actually looks like in 4 steps. 1, you build that awesome diverse body of work. 2, you put on your curator hat and strategically select your final 5, the pieces that make up your strongest possible exhibition. But here's the crucial HL part, step 3. You have to justify those choices in your rationale. And you do that by using 3 of your non-selected works to prove why the 5 you chose are the absolute best combination. And this is a super important piece of advice, straight from the IB guide. Your justification has to be meaningful. You can't just compare your 5 masterpieces to 3 unfinished scribbles from your sketchbook. That's too easy. The 3 other pieces you talk about have to be resolved artworks too. That way, your argument is about a strategic curatorial choice, not just pointing out what's obviously better. Okay, moving on, let's get to the real heart of this thing: the artworks themselves. This is all about nailing criteria B and C, which is where your brilliant ideas and your technical skills have to come together and create something really special. You know, the IB Guide itself talks about the creative process as being non-linear. It's not a simple straight path from A to B. It's much more like this octopus, complex, with all these different tentacles of ideas, skills, and research interacting with each other all at once to create something amazing. And all of this leads to a word that the IB absolutely loves: synthesis. Synthesis is that magic moment where your concept, the why behind your work, and your form, the how you actually made it, are so perfectly woven together that you can't separate them. They work in perfect harmony to communicate exactly what you intended. And if you look at what it takes to get top marks, you see these really powerful words. For your concept, they're looking for work that's meaningful and accomplished. And for your technique, it's not enough to just be good. Your skills need to be assured, fluent, and effective. Basically, it means you're in total control of your materials and you're using them with real confidence and purpose. All right, time to switch gears and talk about the writing, the vital component that covers Criterion D. This is where you prove you're not just making art in a vacuum. It's where you show you're critically aware of your place in the wider art world. So here's the deal. You've got 5 distinct texts to write, 1 for each of your selected pieces. And the catch? You have a maximum of 1,000 words for all of them combined. That works out to just 200 words per artwork. That is tight. You have to be deeply analytical, but also incredibly concise. Which brings us to the big question here. The assessment literally uses that word. You need to situate your practice. So, what does that actually mean? What are they asking for? Well, situating your work means you're doing all of these things in each of those little 200-word texts. You have to analyze the piece, connect it to your own artistic journey, link it out to other artists or bigger cultural ideas, and show that you've thought about how an audience might react to it. It's proof that you're a reflective artist who understands context.
Okay, let's wrap this all up. We're going to run through a quick high score checklist. Think of this as your final quality control, that last look over before you submit to make sure you've squeezed every possible mark out of each criterion.
So before you hit submit, ask yourself, do I have that solid production pool of at least 8 works? Is my rationale a truly meaningful justification of my choices? Is there a clear synthesis of concept and form in every single piece? Is my technical skill not just good, but assured and fluent? Do my 5 texts offer sharp critical analysis? And don't forget the basics. Am I using art vocabulary correctly? And are my photos and videos, my digital documentation, absolutely flawless?
Look, at the end of the day, this whole thing isn't just a school project. It's your first curated exhibition. It's your chance to put a stake in the ground and say, this is who I am as an artist. So, the final question you need to ask yourself is this: what is the unique story that your 5 selected artworks tell? How do they come together to create a powerful narrative that only you could create?